25-й белорусский энергетический. Международная выставка Energy-Expo с 12 по 15 октября. Футбольный манеж.
Приглашаем вас на круглый стол «Экономические и экологические аспекты ядерной энергетики» в Конгресс-холл в 15:00.
«25-й белорусский энергетический и экологический форум. Международная выставка Energy-Expo с 12 по 15 октября. Футбольный манеж. 25-й Белорусский энергетический и экологический форум. Международная выставка Energy-Expo с 12 по 15 октября. Футбольный манеж.
Приглашаем вас посетить семинар «Экономические и экологические аспекты ядерной энергетики», который проходит в Конгресс-холле.
Dear participants, dear roundtable participants, economic and environmental aspects of nuclear energy, I suggest that we begin proceedings of our sector. First of all, I would like to greet you in the name of the roundtable organizers, in the name of the Ministry of Energy of the Republic of Belarus, Department for Nuclear Energy, and our standing partners related to the event organization Rosatom Eastern Europe. Please allow me to begin presentation of our speakers. First of all, I would like to introduce to you our guests. Mr. Anget, Chief Sector Nuclear Power Plants, Arab Republic of Egypt. Our second guest from Hungary, Takács Károly, analyst for foreign projects, NPP, PAX 2. We shall also be pleased to meet today Zdenevich Nadezhda Evgenievna, Chief Directorate, NPP Engineering Provisions, State Production Amalgamation, Belenergo, and Deputy Chief Department for Procurements, Paramonov Boris Petrovich, representing the Belarusian NPP. Dear colleagues, we shall always have representatives of the Turkish Republic online, Chief General Directorate for Nuclear Energy International Projects, Republic of Turkey, Mr. Afshin Burak Bostanji, and Chief Group Cooperation for Regions and Organs of with Rosenergoatom, Svetlana Viktorovna Churilova. I would like to introduce to you Chief General Secretary, Union State, Kubra Alexander, and I would like him to present his welcome speech. Dear President members, dear roundtable participants, in the first place, please allow me to thank you for a possibility to take part in today's proceedings. The Belarusian NPP project is being implemented for more than 9 years now, and indeed it has succeeded in a very brief period of time, and with quite small investments to be a reality. You know, Unit 1 is functioning and is already generating electric power to the grids of the Republic of Belarus. Unit 2 is scheduled for next year, for the year to come. What have we succeeded to do during this time? In fact, we should realize that within a brief period of time, the Republic of Belarus has created a real nuclear sector. We are not just speaking about the construction and commissioning itself, Unit 1. We are speaking in terms that during the same period of time, a group of experts has been trained and educated in the Republic of Belarus, which can take part not only of construction and commissioning work, but now jointly with their Russian colleagues, they're involved in the NPP operation. A system of special expert preparation has been created, starting with engineers and technicians and ranging up to high-ranking managers who jointly with their Russian colleagues are successfully implementing the project. I'm not going to speak about the economic effect Belarus is going to obtain due to the generation of huge numbers of electric power produced, 1.2 megawatt, which we are using as of today. The main thing is that we have created a new sector which deals with the development of all the power generation branches, electric transport. We have huge prospects. Republic of Belarus as yet is a proficient electric generator. We have an opportunity to use the power generated in the future. We should look far in the future to the projects implemented further. The implementation period of NPP extends to dozens of years, and we should look at the project not from the point of view of today, but from the viewpoint of development strategies in Europe and the Russian-Belarusian cooperation for the long years to come. And what do we have to face us? Today, we have the whole world using high-speed highways. If we have high-speed highways, which spring up in China, in Russia. China, for example, has more than 3,000 kilometers of such high-speed motorways. If the project is implemented in Russia and Belarus, we shall get a short way to Western Europe and create additional opportunities for commodity influx to Western Europe and transfer of commodities and the goods to the Southeast Asia. What does Belarusian NPP has to do with it? The replacement system, when we achieve appropriate agreements which are being negotiated with the West European countries and Belarus and Russia, the Belarusian NPP could act as an energy potential to ensure the functioning of energy consumption for the high-speed highways. People speak about new environmental tasks and transfer to electric vehicles. We have received a reserve which would allow us to solve it in a quiet way in the Russian Federation and in Belarus. And we can speak, and I am not going to speak about the ideological aspects, but about the practical aspects, which can be implemented in Russia and Belarus using the energy produced by the Belarusian power plant. I would like to point out that many commissions, many committees have been involved in monitoring the Belarusian power plant. Practically all of them have pointed out high safety and security standards, including environmental safety, which is ensured by the technical engineering solutions adopted at the power plant. I would like to say that the standing committees of the Union State are working in the same direction today. We drill into the project entitled Program of Union State to be financed by the Union State, which should ensure the issue of radiation safety, including its environmental aspects. We're actively working in Russia with Rosatom and Ministry of Energy. We're actively also working in Belarus with the Ministry of Energy and Ministry of Environment. We should take all efforts so that this program be implemented in the years to come. Belarus has vast possibilities to monitor. Belarus has its own satellite which can carry any equipment to monitor radiation safety, environmental safety. Today, the Belarusian satellite is working in cooperation with the Russian satellite group, and we are planning to look into a possibility to enlarge, to enhance this group. And there are appropriate plans between Roscosmos and its Belarusian counterpart. It would enable us to improve the information quality. Don't forget about the aspect of using pilotless units. Belarus is well advanced in this direction. Now it has real drones which can carry equipment which in a wide range of waves will scan the situation on the ground and in the air. As a matter of fact, today, within the framework of building the Belarusian nuclear power plant, or once again I would like to underline, not just a new sector was created, and many Belarusian universities train highly educated experts in the area, but there is a whole training system rolled out. Therefore, many thanks for having us invited, I'm sure that many directions I have pinpointed for my colleagues to this or that degree they will be discussed, and the issue of environment for the nuclear power plant is an important one. In the first place, from the viewpoint that the climate is changing in Western Europe, in North America and elsewhere. In real terms, there is no alternative in the future to nuclear power. There is nothing to replace nuclear power. We only well know that carbon is going to be eliminated. Hydropower is in the hands of the nature itself, and we should not speak about alternative sources. We have a lot of information how they had to wind turbines and tidal plants are vulnerable. I wish a lot of success to this forum. Thank you, Andrei Alexandrovich.
So today we will for sure try to discuss all these issues in details. So that's standing for a fact that nuclear power is reliable and it helps to generate energy independent of climatic and natural factors. You probably all know that the low fuel share in the power generation cost, lower than 15%, allows to forecast for the consumer the prices for the whole life cycle of the NPP, which is around 100 years. And that's very important both for the industrial sector and for the end users, the citizens. Nuclear technologies is more than just electricity generation. This is an infrastructural driver of the country, thousands of jobs, new sectors, new social infrastructure, and many other things. So all the listed advantages of the nuclear power become a competitive advantage for any country which joins the international nuclear community. Just several weeks ago, Belarusian delegation, headed by the Minister of Energy, Mr. Karatkevich, participated in the General Assembly of the IAEA. And the General Director of IAEA, during his introduction speech, Mr. Grusing, said that in case of optimistic scenario, the number of nuclear generation before 2050 will double. And also he admitted that in case of pessimistic scenario, when the countries will refuse to use NPPs, will lead to the situation when we will have the climatic disaster upcoming. Distinguished colleagues, the Republic of Belarus is developing the nuclear program since 2008. We've accumulated some experience, and today we would like to share this experience with you. Now I give the floor to Ms. Zdanevich Nadezhda. She is the head of the Chief Directorate of Technical Provisions of the NPP. Nadezhda is the expert on environmental impact assessment and radiation safety. She participated in development of legal acts in the area of provision of environmental and radiation safety in the Republic of Belarus. So, Nadezhda, the floor is yours.
Наши планы уже поломались. Хрен с ними.
So I look nice in the mask as well, so I will not remove it because this is to protect me and you. So, good afternoon, distinguished colleagues. I am really glad to greet all of you here in our today's first day of our energy forum. And it's really very exciting because almost 2 years I didn't have any offline experience because, you know, the COVID pandemic affected us all, our life and our work. So today I'd like to tell you about the experience the Republic of Belarus acquired during the implementation of the nuclear program. Alexei has already introduced several aspects of this program to you, and when we are talking about the experience, everybody thinks of different concepts connected with this word. For some of you it might be, as I tried to depict in this drawing, is knowledge, skills, some competencies this person acquired. For others this is more like an experiment, and that's why everybody, as far as he understands or knows it, can assess the experience of the Republic of Belarus. I mean, he can judge whether this is the experience in the form of competence, skills and knowledge, or it can be more like a laboratory experiment, which shows quite good results for now. And naturally, at the very beginning, when you just start anything, like any project, you understand that this is a great responsibility that you take upon for the decisions made, and you understand that there are many uncertainties ahead of you, that you lack some knowledge in some areas. You understand that you need people who will fulfill this or that work, this or that service, prepare this or that documents. And in the nuclear energy, a very important factor is selection of the site for the NPP, because to choose a safe site where the NPP will be built, which will be safe for the NPP operation, it's like 50% of the success of this project. And that's exactly why we, from the very start, involved into the energy balance of the nuclear fuel, and like we introduced the concept of energy safety in 2007, but the political decision on construction of the NPP was taken in 2008. And the new facility, the new decisions, it's always new challenges for the whole country. It's not only challenges for the energy sector, but I will repeat again, for the whole country. And we understand very well now, and we understood at that time, that we have to create a legal basis for that. We have to provide effective management of the nuclear sector. We have to hire right personnel in the right number, having the right skills and knowledge. And all that has to be funded properly. We need to foresee all the aspects of nuclear and energy safety, including treatment of the spent nuclear fuel, radioactive waste. And a very important challenge for us was also involvement of the public into the decision-making, discussion of environmental aspects of this facility. All that was possible due to great help of the IAEA. And currently this is our friend who gives us the first aid when we desperately need something. And they understand that we really need this nuclear program to be implemented, and they support us. I am able to show you the specific documents, and also here on the screen you see the issues that have to be taken into account when developing the nuclear program. They all are included in this brochure, which is the primary document. When the employee of the Ministry of Energy takes it, reads it, and he understands what exactly has to be done. Lilia Vitalyevna left for me this document. I inherited it from her. This is the boundaries of development of the national infrastructure of nuclear energy sector. This is already quite worn out. You see, but people used it a lot. And there are some remarks. You see also the stages when it was printed. You see, like it was printed quite a while ago. So there were specific people who used it. And I'm really glad to show you that the knowledge is taken over from the previous generation to the younger generation. And that's exactly why, for me, it's quite an emotional thing. And this is really something that I personally am involved into, and as a person, as a human being. And beyond all these dry words like implementation of the program, but there are some specific people who are doing some real work, like preparing, for example, these laws. Before I started preparing my presentation, I thought, well, I have to count how many laws been prepared, or the resolutions of the Council of Ministers, or of sectoral ministries, or some other instructions, provisions, etc. And when I counted 30, I decided that I won't do that. Too many of them. And also behind these dry figures, we do not see the huge amount of work that's been done by these people, actually, to prepare this legal basis. As I have already mentioned, IAEA provides us the support, and one of the mechanisms how they do it for our program implementation is the NEAR mission, which provides for independent expert evaluation, what has already been created and what has to be created, so that the facility is operated safely and reliably. IAEA separates out 5 concepts: conceptual basis, which is legal basis, management, integrated management, development of staff capacity, involvement of all stakeholders. These 5 pillars are directly linked to more narrow subsectors: national policy, funding, radiation safety, environment protection, safeguards, selection of the site, personal or physical safety, emergency readiness and response, creation of the energy network, creation of the necessary system of nuclear waste treatment, involvement of the industry of the country. And the last pillar is the procurement. IAEA states that for successful implementation of the national nuclear program, the country has to fulfill certain, like 19 provisions, and it gives very specific recommendations on how to fulfill each of these provisions. Here you can see
I have not specified all the legal provision elements, but just the milestones, and I'm going to dwell on them. In 2007, Direction for Nuclear Power Plant Construction was created. That same year, National Academy Institute for Nuclear Research, so-called SOSNI, pine trees, set up an organization for research support to our program. 2008 saw introduction of a law on use of nuclear energy, Department for Nuclear Energy creation. All those aspects I have indicated on this slide have clear-cut legal provisions underneath by adopting laws, resolutions, and other regulatory acts. I have 4 pages to enumerate all the laws and regulations, and they fall short of the entire list. I have not mentioned standards or technical regulations. The blue color indicates good practices, best practices, which were pointed at by the IAEA mission. Monitoring of program projects, designs. There is one more good practice indicated by the IAEA mission in 2012, timely use of partner checkups when developing the nuclear power infrastructure and monitoring of follow-up by the national authorities. Such good practices, best practices, which are later relayed throughout the world, are very dear to us, to our hearts. If we are to look through the items which are important for the IAEA, next comes nuclear energy. Nuclear safety is a basic vector of work. What has country done in this direction? Not just the country, but the operator, Belarusian power plant. What did the regulator do? We have done everything which was supposed to be done. We understand that the plant cannot work without licenses such as construction, operation licenses. To obtain it, a document package must be prepared. To prepare a document package, we must record what it has to include, all the instructions, provisions, reports, evaluations. The country has succeeded in doing it. The expertise related documents, expertise assessment passed, what documents are issued to confirm it, to confirm compliance of the Belarusian nuclear power plant to the nuclear safety regulations. Annually, we are supposed to carry out assessment of the ongoing safety status. Belarus has good experience in conducting stress tests at the BNPP. Mass media widely covered this issue. Sustainability assessment, stability to external factors. As a lesson learned from the Fukushima catastrophe. We have worked out minutely elaborated operation documents, technical regulations for a safe plant operation. We are doing work to monitor structural integrity. A huge plethora of documents on safety culture. Maybe I exaggerate, but working with iron structures, with solid structures is simple. You just follow punch list. But culture safety relates to the human factor, how to make a person understand, a concrete person who is responsible for nuclear radiation safety, for turbine operation. It is a very difficult thing to make people comply with all the requirements, because people think that they are very smart. They don't have to do a lot of reading. The safety culture at a nuclear facility is about a very sizable thing, which is traced at the highest possible level. The next vector of implementing a nuclear energy program is about administration, management. Things should be set in advance, contracts awarded, responsibilities determined, rights, obligations set, regulatory documents developed, documents to make the station to be commissioned. All the documents are available, and the commissioning process, testing trials were conducted according to these documents in question. You should understand that such documents occupy huge volumes of space at the nuclear power plant, because they describe lots of operations, lots and lots of operations. An important management element is integrated managerial system. It's a new thing for Belarus, because so far our enterprises use their individual ISOs. Quality management in environment protection, occupational safety, nuclear units indicate that these managerial systems must work as a whole in an integrated way, which is why the plant has developed all the documents needed to make its operation effective life. Financing and funding. We all understand that money is an indispensable thing before full commissioning. It has been determined that the Belarusian BNPP operations will be funded by the state budget after it is commissioned. The proceeds, monetary proceeds from its operation will support the operation itself. Decommissioning will be funded from two foundations to be created through monthly contributions from electrical power sales. One more important item in this issue is who is going to be responsible for any nuclear harm if caused. According to the relevant international agreement, we have issued a special legislative document which describes in detail all the aspects. Guarantees are related to non-proliferation guarantees, which is why any agreements with any contractors awarded by the nuclear power plant, if they are related to nuclear technologies, they are always supported with guarantees on non-proliferation of nuclear weapons. Naturally, within the framework of supporting all our international obligations, the Republic of Belarus has adopted the necessary frameworks to let the IAEA inspectors make their inspection works within the framework of monitoring nuclear materials, fissile materials. The regulator has adopted a regulation on nuclear material recording. All the nuclear materials are accounted for by the operator and monitored. All the information is transferred to the state nuclear supervision. It's public information. Nothing is concealed. The regulatory basis. The regulatory basis has been created, regulatory provisions have been created to supervise the nuclear unit. The Belarusian side has three regulators: Ministry for Emergency Situations, State Nuclear Authority, and Ministry for Public Health. Each monitors its sector of responsibility. We have two good practices indicated by the IAEA mission, because I have overhauled my time. Radiation safety. The issues of radiation safety is a major component of the nuclear power plant operation. The Republic of Belarus has in place all the regulatory documents. The NPP there has a monitoring organization. Environmental impact is monitored by a whole integrated system, even two systems situated within the 12-kilometer radius monitoring zone. These systems serve to receive the information necessary on the radiation situation and on taking managerial decisions if needed. The nuclear power plant has all the equipment and instruments to monitor the radiation situation. The NPP also has individual detectors to control personal irradiation dosages. And a good thing to illustrate that the NPP works according to the new trends and most advanced trends in the area of radiation protection is the availability of a LARA committee which deals with optimizing irradiation, personal irradiation dosages. We have also a good practice in place saying that the country is quickly integrating the newest radiation protection standards. National power grid. We understand that our power plant should deliver power somewhere, to get power from somewhere. A lot of work has been done to integrate the BNPP with the united power grid. I have indicated a few items here, bullet points, to make you understand what an amount of work it was that we have carried out. All the necessary regulatory documents which regulate interaction, interface between the BNPP and the grid are in place. Human resource development. I would like to point out to the Human Resources Development Center.
All the missions coming to Belarus, IAEA, but also other international organizations admit that. And this Belarusian facility is a very good example of how in the nuclear power plant the system of education has to be created to maintain the skills of the personnel. Participation of the stakeholders. I'd like to admit that, well, talking about the experience that was acquired during the implementation of this project, for me personally, I acquired the greatest experience within the framework of natural environmental protection conventions framework, like Aarhus Convention and the others, because we could look at ourselves from a little bit different angle, and the experience acquired by us during negotiations with other countries when we were discussing the environmental impact assessment report. We discussed it with Poland, Austria, Lithuania, Latvia, and we received a lot of comments, proposals. We thought how to take them into account, to implement them to the maximum extent within the Belarusian NPP project. And the whole Republic of Belarus, all the organizations, Ministry of Environment Protection, Ministry of Energy, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, they all were involved in the development of the report on environmental impact assessment. Also, it's very interesting to admit the experience of cooperation with NGOs. The last one was the Green Cross in 2019 on zero-level assessment. It's a very interesting report that was prepared, which includes the assessment by this NGO, assessment of the zero level, or of the baseline level, and they confirmed the fact that the facility was constructed in a safe place. Nadezhda, you have only 5 minutes left, because otherwise we will run behind the schedule. Also, the participation of stakeholders being linked with good practice of the in-year mission of IAEA, confirming that Belarus took all the necessary efforts to involve the public into the negotiations and discussions. So, I already told about the experience obtained during the selection and assessment of the potential sites. Also, there were some EIA reports prepared, and there were some missions. And also, we made comprehensive environmental monitoring, which has been done since 2013. There have been a lot of processes going on in this area, and I think we can make a separate lecture on each of the slides I demonstrate to you. Environmental protection, which is a very diverse factor, component of the nuclear program implementation. And I'd like to admit the climatic aspects of our NPP construction, because when the NPP was commissioned, the gas combusted for generation of the nuclear fuel, the Republic of Belarus will decrease the greenhouse gases generation by 7 million tons per year, and this is a great contribution of Belarus to the reduction of the climate change consequences. We've taken a lot of measures for emergency response. We have an internal emergency response plan in the NPP. Also, at the Republican level, we've created a national emergency plan. All these plans are interconnected with each other. All the response procedures being developed and trained by the personnel, and these trainings are going on even now. And this is a very serious work and cooperation of the NPP with the Ministry of Emergency. Physical radiation safety. Also, a lot has been done, because without provision of the nuclear material protection, it wouldn't be possible, because we have IAEA safeguards, we have nuclear material protection. We had to create a full-scale system of engineering and technical means of physical protection. We have developed all the necessary documents, both at the local and the Republican level. We have hired the personnel for the facility security. Also, we are doing trainings, etc., etc. So, as far as the nuclear fuel is concerned, we all understand that the fresh fuel is fresh until it is loaded into the reactor. As soon as we have loaded it and it starts working, it immediately produces some spent fuel, and we are responsible for all the decisions, programs implemented in order to dispose of it. And I'd like to admit that all the NPP system of spent fuel treatment is already in place. Everything been implemented according to the design. The strategic plans of nuclear fuel treatment are all included in the national strategy of the Belarusian NPP, and according to this strategy, the priority option is processing of the spent fuel in Russia and then bringing back the products of this processing in the form of nuclear waste. Also, the system of treatment of nuclear waste is already constructed. We have all the documents for nuclear waste treatment. The regulator, Gosatomnadzor, is implementing the necessary monitoring and control. As long as the program of the disposal is concerned, we have taken all the necessary legal and technical measures, and regarding the putting of the NPP out of operation 5 years before it should happen, we will provide all the necessary financing documents, and there is a special plan for that. Industry. Of course, when Belarus started implementing this project, understanding that technologies used there are developed in Russia, we wanted also to involve our industry into this project. Here I demonstrate you the figures stating that in the project implementation more than 20 Belarusian companies were involved. The equipment was supplied, like 8% of all the equipment needed for the NPP were supplied by Belarusian companies. Many Belarusian subcontractors, like from the energy sector, our RUP, Beltey, RUP, Белэнергопром, Белэнергострой, Center, Энергомонтаж, Белэлектромонтаж Наладка. And since the 1st of January 2020, the Belarusian NPPs became part of the state production agglomeration Belenergo, which also facilitates the processes and procedures at the facility. Also, in the country, we have quite a transparent scheme of procurement, not only for the NPP, but for every organization or company. It's all reflected in the Belarusian legislation, in the local secondary legal acts, and here everything is quite transparent and clear. Also, what have we achieved? So at the very start of this journey, when we first time invited the mission in 2012, we had 22 proposals, 16 recommendations for positive practices. But in 2020, number of proposals like more than 3 times less. Less recommendations, more positive practices. So it means that we are moving in the right direction. We fulfill all the international and local regulations. And also what has been admitted by the inner mission is that Belarus, any assessment converts into the action plan. So all the recommendations of every mission are converted into the action plan, and all these actions are really implemented by specific organizations, authorities. So neither of the recommendations provided by the missions are neglected. So that's why now in 2020 2020, we have received the recommendations and proposals. Ministry of Energy has developed a corresponding action plan for the implementation of these recommendations, and this plan being confirmed by the state, by the government, and now we are being implementing it. So sorry for making this presentation a little bit brief and maybe incomplete, but I tried to tell you everything just in several minutes. I hope that I at least managed to give you a general impression on how Belarus implemented and keeps implementing the nuclear energy program, and I hope that I can tell you like for ages about that, but yeah, Nadezhda, thank you. I think you really missed the stage, so you made quite a long presentation, and soon we'll have a workshop with IAEA, so all the countries that successfully implemented the nuclear programs will participate in such workshops. The first workshop was with UAE, and 2 units out of 4 based on Korean technologies being already constructed there, and we have the same proposal in Belarus to consider it, and Nadezhda will also participate in this webinar with IAEA, and we will tell about our successful practices, projects. Everybody who is interested can visit this webinar, and now I give the floor to the representative of the pioneer of the Belarusian nuclear sector, Deputy Chief Engineer for Production Engineering Provisions, Head of the Production and Technical Department of the Belarusian PP, Mr. Paramonov.
Boris Petrovich has been active in energy for 22 years, including 7 years at the BNPP. Dear colleagues, please stick to the time regulations. Do not overhaul your time. Once again, a good day to all of you. I'll try to be brief. Nadezhda Evgenievna has in all details covered the BNPP operations, which makes my task easier. Sometime in the past, we had an acute objective of ensuring energy safety and security. We again had to build a nuclear power plant, which we abandoned after Chernobyl disaster. What advantages were related to an NPP? 2007, 95% of the energy mix was due to natural gas. Commissioning an NPP would reduce its share in the mix to 60, which meant savings of 4.5 million cubic meters of gas. Giving up one of the main carbon emitters would allow us also increase our energy safety and security. Buying nuclear fuel could mean ensuring fuel supplies for years to come while reducing toxic emissions. Republic of Belarus has assumed obligations also under the Paris Climate Agreement, and an NPP could play a vital role in it. These advantages of commissioning an NPP enabled us to develop energy safety concept approved in 2007, and very soon a decision was made to erect an NPP in Belarus. Starting with 2008, we started looking into the NPP type to be built in Belarus. We looked into several options, worked with many companies and countries, but Belarus, not only due to its friendly relations to the Russian Federation, but due to the choice of the safest and best, most reliable design, made its choice in favor of Design 2006, developed by the Russian St. Petersburg Design Research Center. Starting with 2008, we began looking for a site, looked into 70 alternative construction sites, and at last the choice was made for Ostrovets as the best fit one in terms of reliability, infrastructure, and safety. And in 2012, a contract was awarded, master contract was awarded to construct the Belarusian NPP, providing for building 2 power units, 1200 megawatt each. And in 2012, in May, we began operations to make the pit. As we see on the slides, almost 7 years passed by when we, for the first time, provided our own power needs with our own generation. It means that the stage A of the unit commissioning came, and 2020 an iconic event happened. First kilowatts were fed to the Belarusian power grid. On the 10th of June 2021, the Unit 1 of the Belarusian NPP was industrially commissioned, and an appropriate act was signed. Unit 2 is to be commissioned in June 2022. It's past its stage A. Now, on October the 6th, we do the inspection work, a 4-stage. After it is over in December, we'll begin physical commissioning. It's also an iconic milestone. So, at this slide, we can see the general BNPP layout. We can see 2 units. It's a block structure, turbine island, reactor island. In the middle, you can see cooling pools. General information, as I articulated, 2 units, 1194 megawatt each. Expected life expectancy 60 years plus 40. So we build the power plant for 100 years to come. Performance 37, efficiency 37, number of independent safety systems 4. Some indicators within 9 years of 2020, 9 months of 2021, we've generated 3.4 billion kilowatt per hour. All in all, since the energy commissioning, since January 2020, we have already generated 3.2 billion have been released to the grid. Consumption for own needs 0.23 billion. The design provides for a percentage of own needs about 7.15. The percentage is much lower, 6.9, which speaks about high efficiency of the design. We have replaced 930 million cubic meters of natural gas, as at this moment in time it's over 1 billion. This slide shows the electric energy tariff structure as percentages. The first column on the left, till 2037, we provide for compensation of the credit repayment. So 15 years will see all the costs repaid. The remaining 85 years, the NPP will produce profits to the country. a few words. We are not speaking only about economy, but also environment. So a few words about the environmental component, environmental safety of the NPP. Since 2012, we have developed a program of overall environmental monitoring, which provided for measurement of so-called zero background. Now we are in course of implementing it and comparing the baseline background data with the current background data. I would like to say that we don't hear any deviations. Radiation background is at the natural figures, 0.1 microsievert per hour. All the data are available on a daily basis at the NPP website. The NPP is open for public's curiosity, like all the NPPs throughout the world, by the way. Major vectors of the environmental monitoring, impact on the environment, and NPP impact on the surrounding environment. Monitoring means hydrological monitoring, meteorological monitoring, aerological, seismic monitoring, monitoring underground water, monitoring of contemporary seismic movement, how the nature affects the NPP, surface water monitoring. In Ostrovets region, we monitor we monitor 4 rivers: the Vilia and smaller tributaries, we see how floodwaters affect the NPP. The BNPP has been selected in the way that it is not threatened with floodings because it is situated on a high ground, which is why flooding is not a threat. Some 2 kilometers away from the NPP, there is a meteorological monitoring unit, Marconi village, which monitors every 8 hours all the meteorological data, temperature, humidity, wind speed. Aerological monitoring is also conducted at Marconi. There is an automatic SADA measuring unit, monitors upper atmosphere situation. Underground water monitoring is conducted to enable us to assess underground water, its behavior and chemical composition. The relevant topic, there are 7 observation points which monitor the seismic situation. Activity. The seismic activity is also within the long-term figures. Environmental monitoring. Environmental monitoring can be subdivided in 2 parts: radiation monitoring and chemical and biological monitoring. Everything is okay and understood with radiation monitoring. My predecessor has told about it. As far as chemical and biological monitoring is concerned, it includes soil monitoring, plant monitoring, animal realm monitoring. I would like to show to you a map which shows 9 outposts which monitor radiation situation within the BNPP monitoring zone. The red triangles show its national elements by the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment Protection. It's an outer actor. Facilities of radiation monitoring. The sanitary zone is limited to the perimeter, and protection zone is 12.9 kilometer radius. We monitor aerosol, precipitation, water, soil, surface, fauna, fish, environmental system elements, milk, grain, vegetables, fruit. We monitor in practical terms everything. Chemical and biological monitoring, as I've mentioned, looks at soil, fish, forests, fields. The BNPP has developed a program of post-design analysis in line with the 7th ESPO Convention. On an annual basis, we draw reports which are shared with all the interested parties, including nearby countries. The NPP is an open actor and shares its information with all the stakeholders. Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, you are welcome. Thank you very much, Boris Petrovich. We shall ask all questions after all presentations are over. Dear colleagues, you know, our previous reporters have already mentioned that with the construction of the Belarusian NPP, an active development of the Ostrovets district development started, which develops its social sphere, builds housing, and these are the directions where we consult our Russian colleagues who have accumulated huge experience. And I would like now to give floor to
the representative of the Department for working with the regions of the Rosenergoatom, Oksana Vladimirovna Ayura, who should be online with us. Hello. Distinguished participants, good afternoon. I'd like to express my pleasure to share experience of our work. So please put on the presentation on the screen. Yes, I'd like to tell about, unfortunately I almost cannot hear the speaker, but I will try my best, about the development of the NPP. So this project decision on its implementation was taken in 2013 to create this concern together with the local authorities. So there are 12 directors of NPPs who are in the board of this organization, and вы знаете, вообще не слышно, к сожалению. So it's coordination of implementation of the common decisions together with the directorates for so this also the social security authority which is participating in that. So in the slide you see the 15 territorial administrations which are part of the fund and the 11 NPPs in operation are part of that. So 12 directors of the NPPs are participating in this structure. Here on the slide we see the project lines of the fund activity and the sites. So the fund is the reflection of the social policy, and we are implementing different events, and this is the form of cooperation which allows us to join the development of the sector and the innovative development of the territory or of the region. So also the experience of cooperation with the territorial administration and the implementation of the development project in the regions is the covenant which was signed by the regions where NPPs are located. These covenants on annual basis to direct the additional taxes received in the region where NPPs are located for the development of this region, and it allows to get the necessary budget for implementation of different projects. So you see on the diagram that the total budget is increasing with every year. You can see the example of the city of Voronezh, for example, where a lot of projects on social development are implemented. It's 1.4 billion in this region only. So in this slide you see a short list of the key projects that have been implemented by the fund in 2021, and it allowed to construct the infrastructure facilities, to repair the roads, and there is a long list of projects which were supported in these regions owing to these budgets. Also, one of the priorities is development of the territorial self-government, public self-government entities. This is the state program to increase the public awareness. In 2012, and the National Association of Self-Government, the chair of which is Mr. Viktor Federaev, signed an agreement which allowed us to organize a contest of socially valuable projects in our cities. So there were 2 contests held, and owing to that, the territorial administrations received additional funds for implementation of the projects, and also these contests allowed to popularize the idea of the self-government structures, territorial self-government structures. Please switch to the next slide. So one more successful project which was implemented in all our regions with the support of the concern and fund. Our cities participate in the contest of the best urban infrastructure facilities, and this is the contest owing to which we managed to involve the federal budget in the amount 740 million rubles. And these projects, financing of these projects was on co-financing basis, so the regions also supported the municipalities in the amount of 240 million rubles, and the concern for the implementation of this project in our cities spent 185 million rubles, and the funds of the concern were used to hire the experts and to create concepts of the projects for the participation in this contest. So please switch to the next slide. One more practice is implementation of the contest of entrepreneurship in the cities where the NPP is allocated. So this project is aimed at support and stimulation of SMEs in our municipal settlements. So within the framework of this project, we hold round tables to share the experience, and also in 2020 we organized a contest, owing to which the winner, were 12 projects which received 2 million rubles each for their implementation. So please switch over to the next slide. So one more important achievement of ours since 2019, together with the Rosatom State Corporation, based on MIFI, Ministry of Finance of Russia, we organized the Department of Management of Regional Projects, which allows to the representatives of the administration of municipal administration to receive trainings. During the 3 years, more than 60 representatives of the municipal administrations participated in the training modules. So earlier it was offline, but now, of course, it's organized online. Please switch over to the next slide. So, and of course, a lot of attention in our fund, together with our heads and directors of the concern, we dedicate to kids and youth, to the development of their skills and competencies. Every year we implement a lot of projects. In the slide you see the biggest international projects like Atomexpo-Belarus, nuclear Pegasus, and etc. So you can see them all on the slide. Also hugged by nature or embraced by nature. So this contest we hold since 2017. So this year was the 5th contest held, and annually for the winners of this contest we hold economic children forum. This year it was in Belarus. Our kids were really happy. Kids from Belarus, from Ostrovets, they participated in it, and they been participating in all our projects basically. So also in the territory where we are present, supported by fund, we organize the Smart Cities of Rosatom project. In September 2020, together with the Rosatom infrastructural decision, we launched 6 pilot modules in 8 cities: Voronezh, Kurchatov, Sosnovy Bor, Polyarzolye, cities where the NPP is allocated, and 5 municipal administrations also became part of the Smart City projects at the federal site of the Ministry of Construction of the Russian Federation. And this project allowed to really seriously to it affects seriously the organization of cooperation between the administrations and the population of the territories. So please switch over to the next slide. Also, in our fund, we have Youth Council of the fund with the representatives of the youth councils of all the municipal administrations, and also the youth councils of NPPs. So there are a lot of educational forums held, and also in this year we held one of the sessions, and our foreign partners from Belarus, from Hungary participate actively, from Czech Republic participate actively in this work. And the last slide so shows that we have a lot of projects, but we tried to be limited to the most important. It's sport development project. So during the last 4 years, in all the territories, we've been implementing our corporate projects like Planet of Basketball and Orange Atom. So this project is dedicated to popularization of 3-3 basketball, volleyball. So we created playgrounds, sport playgrounds, and one of them is in Ostrovets. And our guys from Ostrovets participate in our projects and in our festivals and games of basketball, which are held in all these sites and in the international communication mode. Unfortunately, we were planning in 2020 to hold a big festival, kids festival, in Ostrovets, and we even reached corresponding agreement, but there were some international restrictions implemented, and we hope that the situation will normalize soon, and then we meet in Ostrovets at our sport festival. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you, Oksana. That's really the fact that Rosatom has a huge experience and a lot of interesting projects. And we are really grateful to you for involving us in participation into these projects, our youth, our kids, and for sharing your rich experience with us. And we will be really glad to see you offline. Please visit us. Thank you, thank you. And distinguished colleagues, in the Republic of Belarus, we are implementing the Russian project, and you probably know that today the state corporation Rosatom is the world leader for international orders. The portfolio now consists of 36 energy units in 12 countries of the world, and this project, the Generation 3 Plus, is selected by many countries, and today we have representatives of 3 more countries which were selected for implementation of this project for implementation. And now I give the floor to our guest from Hungary, the international projects analyst, Zao Paksh 2, Mr. Kari Takash.
Has a 47-year nuclear energy experience, and jointly with the Rosatom Kurchatov Institute colleagues, he is engaged in implementing projects of units 5 and 6 at Paksh 2 project. The floor goes to you. Добрый день. Спасибо большое за приглашение от белорусского замминистра. Я постараюсь поддержать вам интерес, но это будет непросто. Как я уже вам обещал, время будет контролировать мой iPhone. Он рассчитывает точно.
Longer than 30 minutes. I think it's could accepted. Well, I reconstructed my whole presentation because it's, we are late more than 45 minutes. And I jump into the scroll very fast, and I am deeply sorry for you that I prepared a lot of information, what is the differences, what is important, but it's impossible to say. And you, we know, you will be interested in a lot of information on our website in Hungary, and second, because we have a first project I will show for you, nuclear power plant, and on Hungarian and English language. What is the mission? It's a question, the mission. And what we want to do, these units, we want to build these units. I think it's very, very good. It looks nice, good, yes, as well. And maybe it is the fifth unit in Paks in Hungary. And something about the previous life, because it's not the first unit. And this way I want to congratulate for the Belarusian people, Belarusian leadership, the commercial first unit in Ostrovets and Belarusian NPP. It's a very big milestone, and they want to be, they use the nuclear energy. Fortunately, Hungary has it is so like the Paks 1 unit. Its technology is coming from earlier Soviet Union, from 80s years to VVR 440 units. It's well operated actually, but in the future we want to extend the capacity and or name the extension of the capacity until the 100 years. To close this power station, we build new 2 units, as same as units in Belarus and other foreign projects, the 5th and 6th. And it's interesting, the remark for you that we choose a very easy way, divided, avoid misunderstanding, the 1, the 2nd, and 3 and 4th unit. We name the 5th unit. That's easy, but it's very important. Avoid misunderstanding. And my earlier plan, but it's destroyed, and I came so fast I can. I don't want to speak too much the climate protection because it's general information, the climate protection. Everybody knows what does mean, what is the reason why we should build nuclear power station. And not so easy question in the European Union, that what is the main goal? The renewable energy sources or the nuclear, all together important. That is a big debate inside the member states. And I don't want to speak about them, sorry, but would be interesting inside the structure of the European Union and what is the differences, because we have a double level, one level and the general controlled by the European Commission and European Parliament, and the second, inside the member states, is regulated by the national authorities. It's a very interesting situation, as a lot of difficulties we had these rules, but we should keep that we should stand this regulation. Only one picture about the Hungarian situation, that what is the carbonless energies producing in Hungary actually. It looks like very good that the nuclear share in Hungary, it's very high level. Approximately half of this generated from the nuclear sources. That is step by step, it's very strong, the renewable sources. And we have a lot of consequences. I want to give one exact example, what is the consequences, what are improving so fast the renewable sources. And energy mix, yes. The background of the energy mix, we jump. Only it's interesting and actual, I try to find the interesting information because you have a lot of general information. And actual information from Hungary. What is the consequences? The very high generating solar energy. The consequences is, you see that should regulate the import as the renewable sources is generating. And why it's difficulties? Everybody happy that renewable sources is so cheap. It's not true. It's not cheap. Only the fabricating is making is cheap, but the prices is much higher. And the consequence is that if sunshine is very good, this summer was very sunshine, the summer, the share of the energy is very high level. The reason of the unregulated could follow the import, and if we have a good day, we couldn't reduce the blue line, it's the nuclear, but we had those days when the nuclear generation could follow and could reduce the capacity. These are not very high solar energy. There is a very high consequences for the energy mix, which could destroy the prices. And this is actual life in Hungary, unfortunately. This is everybody happy, the renewable sources, but we had a lot of difficulty. And one of the very important consequences that PAX-2 should be following the generating, load following, it's its official name, load following, from 50% until the 100, but it's very high consequences. Something about the Hungarian situation of the energy mix. Why is interesting? The interesting right side, if you see the right side, that is all of Hungarian producing the nuclear and renewable and gas and coal. And I'm sorry, this is the headline is Hungarian, but I haven't time to modify this English. But you see the example that nuclear energy sources is very high. Reason of the PAX-1 energy consumption, because it's 4 unit is increased 2,000 megawatt. And at the second left side, we see that explosion is very high from import. We depend on import. We want to build a PAX-2 that the import share in Hungary is very high. And this is the import sharing consequences is huge consequences, we could say. Something about the peak load capacity is increased fluently. Fortunately, we are happy that increase the energy demand, because what does mean? That means that economy is increased and increase a lot of household capacity. And some discussion about the situation, I will jump. Something about the project. The project, I think, has a different kind of phases. Sorry. That looks like the project is, we heard a lot of information about the project. That it's easy to build. I think, it's my personal opinion, that the different kind of project phase, it's very difficult as the licensing. I want to speak about the different neighboring countries, especially the European Union, what is the situation, but I don't have the time for it too much. Only I want to focus one important information that the list of the, you see that PAX-2 nuclear power plant, and together with the Fenavoima, and together with the Turkey project, and with Erdaba from Egypt, you will heard about the next speakers, that absolutely the same technical arrangement. It's very important for the future. The same technical arrangement, same technical contractor from the Rosatom. We have very good relation with the Russian guys, Russian engineers, a very high quality team, and we have a very good cooperation with the Finnish project, with Fenavoima, and Hankivi is different name. The Fenavoima is the company name of Hankivi place. And for the next engineers and next generation, it will be important. The cooperation with the 4 unit, because the 4 nuclear stations, sorry, because it's approximately, if I know well, it's 11 unit will be the 4 nuclear station. No words about the VVR, but I'm engineer and economist, and I would like to speak about a lot of units, but I don't have the time. The VVR 1,200 units working all of this capacity. And what is the differences? Some differences we have, if you compare the Belarusian MPP and others. That is a turbine island will be in Hungary and different other projects which I mentioned list slide, that we will have a turbine generator type from General Electric from USA and from France. This name Arabelle. It's an interesting project. I was a turbine section leader. A turbine leader is my favorite thing, but don't have a time. And one of the big differences that is a half rotating type of the turbine. That is the rotating normal is 1,500 rotating per minute. It's very interesting and very interesting unit and very high capability. It will be all of mentioned power plant. Yes, there is an interesting question, the prices. The price is affordable and a big debate at the European Union, but I don't have time too much speak about. Some interesting milestone about what happened in nuclear power plant project in Paks 2. Well, for example, we have a general information to build a nuclear power plant is depend the license. Yes, it is. It's very important, the licensing. And these important milestones, we see that what happened and how much time is really needed. And during this period, a reason of the mentioned second level controlling, could say the simply was the control, European Union responsible the market regulation, and they investigated very strong the Paks 2 project, and we should work with and together with a different commission committee, the DG Comps and others, that end of this investigation they accepted this project and they agreed, but they told we should divide the two power plants. We are not common and all together. We have two company with the Paks 1. It's very interesting. Reason of the marketable, reason of the better calculating and others reason. Some today information is interesting. What about the prices? The prices, you know, it's you know very well, is increased so fast the last months and the last days. And not the actual prices, but the actual price is much higher. And 200 euro per megawatt hours, this is higher. And, you know, we had 5 years ago when it was this investigation by the DigiComs from Brussels that it was a question by the Hungarian opposites. It's attacked me. It's a very high intention, a very high power that is not returnable project, the Paks 2, and what will the future need different kind of additional payment from the government and so on. We attacked it very seriously, this one, and see today information. LCOE level in a Paks 2, this levelized cost of electricity, you know that what is the abbreviation, its meaning, 507 euro per megawatt hours. And what is the today prices? 200. Who asked that it's a returnable project? Nobody. It's a silence. And something about the project and the project framework. The project framework had started, of course, with the contract thing. I don't want to stay too much time because but it would be very interesting, the circumstances, the projecting, but I don't have the time. Only one, I want to mention for you one very important circumstances. We have the same arrangement as the Belarusian MPP. The same contractor, the same EPC contractor, the same leader of the plan, and it's interesting information. And a loan agreement is between the two countries, Russia and Hungary. It would be interesting, as I like this speaking about, but I don't have the time. I want to say something about the licensing. Why? Because the approaches the licensing, I check myself the time. Oh, that's, I have 15 minutes. That it's very high difficulties, the licensing. Why? Because a lot of milestones we have, a lot different kind of licenses needed to build a nuclear station. In our project in Pashtu, approximately 600 different licenses needed. But I don't want to mention all of 600. Only I pick only 5 different licenses. And one of the first, the site license. And the site license is already done. We get the site license. And the next is environmental license. We had a speak about with the lady a lot of information about the importance of this environmental, and other next speakers from Russia speak about a very interesting introduction about the general checking of the environmental situation, and don't want to find too much, lost too much. Only one, let me mention something about our practice in Pashtu, that it was accepted by UN Secretariat and Expo Convention, and they offered as the good practice, because we circulated several different countries of the neighboring countries, several different policies. It was a huge work and huge challenge when we have environmental license. And next is important electricity license. We have the electricity license. It's same the implementation license, but it's the differences. We got the implementation license, which is issued by regulatory authority. It's very important. We got this license. And the next is the biggest challenge is the implementation license. Why? Because the implementation license, altogether with PSIR, this is a preliminary safety analysis report, and huge documentation. And the Hungarian situation is that we should submit altogether everything, not different kind of stages as the Finland, and we should find the best documentation together with Russians, that we don't have the other chance to submit this documentation, and hopefully we hope that we will get this implementation license from the Hungarian Atomic Energy Authority, which is an independent authority, very strict guys, similar to the Stux from Finland. And additional, maybe the additional asking will be, I think. And this is a authority situation. Something about the physical verse. Well, it's always asks me that, not me, because I'm an analyst, that the other company, other part of the company, that we don't see anything in the site. What do you do? It's no build the power station. Why? Because the licensing period, the longer the 6 years, similar in the Hanhiki situation. It's very high difficulty to explain for the people that we are working very hard, but you don't lie because you're working at the computer. And but avoid the misunderstanding. Of course, a lot of building already done, and we got a license. One interesting example that we should build one transformer station reasons a different level of the energy demand because the Hungary is common at 22 kilowatt and the Russians use 11 kilowatt, and we built for them the supplying the whole station for the building, of course, this capacity level. And of course, the necessary office building is near the finishing, and it is interesting that CEB, which is the construction erection base, it's very important part of the project. And unfortunately, unfortunately, reason of the Hungarian regulation, we should submit every building the license. They need a lot of license because the CEB, a lot of important transformation facilities, concrete facilities, different storage places and assembly places. And we are at a good situation, but should follow the licensing, should follow the authority acceptation. And this reason that we could only step by step after the license and license. We proud this building, which is finished, this Power Investment Center. All engineers already on the site. It's very good news. More than 300 engineers and physicists working. It's very interesting. There is a new building. It's very good arrangement. We have quality, and all people already on the site. And that's all. I spared the 5 minutes. Thank you for your attention, and thank you very much for your very nice invitation. Thank you.
Спасибо большое.
Thank you so much. That was really very interesting, because on the one part the projects are similar, but also we can see the differences in requirements. You have much stricter regulators requirements than we do. That's good that the regulator is not present in the room, because otherwise he would decide, oh, we have to make our regulations stricter as well. So issuing licenses for each building, it's too strict, I think. We have 2 presentations left, and now I give the floor to our guest from sunny Egypt. This is the head of the sector of management of NPPs in Egypt, Arab Republic, Mr. Samen Sabel Hussein Mohammed. Hussein Mohammed, the floor is yours.
Very much. Good afternoon. Добрый день. Thank you for being here and introduce the Egyptian nuclear power plant program. By the way, Egypt is not new in this field. We are in the nuclear field from 1956, and we are operating the research reactor Russian type from 1962 and Argentine type from 1992. So we are maybe a newcomer in the nuclear power plant field. So my presentation today will talking about socio-economic aspect of nuclear energy. We will talk about the national energy policy and role of nuclear energy, nuclear power program roadmap and status, and the socio-economic aspect of nuclear energy in Egypt, and the conclusion. I'm the last one. I think I will be mercy with you. Okay. National energy policy and the role of nuclear energy. Egypt lies on northeast corner of Africa, for who doesn't know. It's bounded by Mediterranean Sea from the north, Red Sea from the east, Libya from the west, and Sudan from the south. Total area about 1 million kilometer. Daily maximum temperature in Egypt varies from 18 to 41, and the minimum from 5 to 23. It encourages you to come to Egypt to spend a good time. The Egyptian population is around 95 million persons. Electricity sector strategy of generation mix. The main objective of the electricity strategy: 1, provide the needed electricity for the socio-economic growth, consistency of supplying electricity within economical operation standards, diversify of energy mix to include traditional and renewable resources, also introduce nuclear power to energy mix. The power consumption grows each year from 4 to 7%. 90% of generation is based on oil and gas. Population grows about 1.3% per year. The nuclear power plant in Idaba, this is the common IAEA nuclear power infrastructure development. We pass all approximately maybe 2/3 of this timeline. Through the decision has been taken to include the nuclear power option in national energy strategy. After that, in phase 1, we considering before a decision, a launch of nuclear power program is taken. We reached the milestone 1 in 2007 by be ready to make a knowledgeable commitment to a nuclear power program. Then we enter the phase 2 by preparatory work for the contracting and the construction of nuclear power plant after policy decision has been taken. In 2014, by reaching the milestone 2, we be ready to invite the bids, negotiation, contractors for the first nuclear power plant. We have received maybe 3 or more bids. And we, lastly, we choose the Russian direction. We are now in phase 2. By the way, we received a near mission from IAEA to assist the second phase. And thanks God, we didn't get any remarkable or significant remarks. We are now in the phase 3. We carry out the implementation of the first nuclear power plant. We submit the PSAR and all the documentation for INRA, which is the regulatory body in Egypt, and we are waiting for the permission or the implementation permission. And after that, God willing, we go to commissioning operation. In 19 November 2015, we signing a IGA and the SIGA. On 31 December 2016, we signing ABC contract. And in 11 December 2017, the contracts entered into force and become effective, which is for contract, EBC contract, nuclear fuel supply, spent fuel, and OSM. The Daba nuclear power plant, consisting of 4 units, like my colleague from Hungary said, the same type, VVR 1200 reactors, is being built based on the term of conditions of the EBC contract. 4 power units with capacity 1.2 gigawatt based on VVR reactors. It's from the BWR type and Russian design. Russia said that assist Egypt partners in the development of nuclear infrastructure shall supply Russian nuclear fuel for the entire life cycle of the nuclear power plant, as well as build a special storage facility and supply containers for storing spent fuel, increasing localization, provide training for national personnel, and support Egyptian partner in operation and maintenance of a Daba nuclear power plant. Socio-economic aspect of nuclear energy. As you know, large infrastructure project, namely the construction of new nuclear power plant, cause many change in the socio-economic environment in the region. Some of the major impacts are related to changes in the employment baseline of the community, migration of workers, community service, environmental parameter, and economic development. In the electrical power industry, calculation of benefit is a complex process. since a nuclear power station would normally not only increase production, but also contribute towards optimization of the overall system cost of generation. More competitive costs of generation impact the operational cost for large industrial energy consumers, leading to decrease in the operational expenditure in the production of their goods. The benefit for the country could be considered as a primary, so direct and also indirect, as well observed in the following perspective: socio-economic, environmental, and macroeconomic. The primary benefit of the purpose nuclear station is the value of generating electricity delivered to consumer. The need of the power and based load capacity is the trigger for the project implementation. Egypt aims to diversify its energy generation mix while meets the increasing power demands. And nuclear power introduction is one of the measures in achieving these goals. Nuclear power is a reliable based load generation source that is independent of weather conditions like another resources. The availability of reliable power supply is prerequisite for economic growth and stimulate economic and social prosperity of the country. Therefore, nuclear power is seen as very attractive energy generation solution. Educational and training program for the implementation of nuclear power entail the deployment of long-term education and training strategy. This strategy includes education in university and community colleagues, facility-specific training, and training performed by experienced power utility organization to assist in the initial operation of the nuclear power plant. And by the way, we built a technical vacation or technical school, which was a very good point as an assessment in ENIR mission. And this school getting the student from the preparatory stage and qualify them to be a technical in the new nuclear power plant. These activities will contribute to better qualification of local personnel and indirectly will contribute to increase the overall education level of the society. Significant local employment will be generated during the construction period and the subsequent operating period of the nuclear power plant. These positions required skilled labor. The wages paid to the nuclear power plant workers is already higher than another project, which ensure high purchasing power of those individuals. The higher wages boost local business revenue as they filter throughout the economy. The result of also shows that every gigawatt of nuclear capacity generation, 9 billion in annual investment, 4.3 billion impact of GDP, 3.25 billion in household income for citizens, 1 billion in public revenues on top of that. It sustains over 9,500 direct and indirect jobs. A 2,400 megawatt twin VVR plant provide a clean and stable supply of electricity for at least 60 years, which is enough to power 1.8 million homes on average. It also creates about 3,000 direct jobs at the construction site and more 10,000 others in related sectors. A nuclear power plant project contribute to at least 6 of the 17 UN Sustainable Development Goals and generate multiple economic effects like affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth, industry and infrastructure, responsible consumption and production, climate action, and partnership for the goals. Conclusion. Nuclear energy provides significant source of clean power. Worldwide it generates billions of kilowatt hours of electricity each year and produce emission-free electricity, avoid billions of metric tons of carbon each year. Nuclear power plants run 24 hours, 7 days in the week, providing base load power, making nuclear power the most reliable energy source on the grid today and, of course, sustainable. The nuclear industry supports millions of jobs worldwide and contributes significantly to local gross domestic product each year. A Daba nuclear power plant is the ideal solution that can satisfy the increasing power demand due to the rapid population growth in Egypt, Europeanization and industrialization in Egypt. Al Daba nuclear power plant project is listed in Egypt's Sustainable Development Strategy for Egypt Vision to 2030. With the generation of 4,800 megawatt electricity in base load mode at stable price level and with particularly zero CO2 fingerprint. Thank you very much, and if any question, I will be okay. Thank you. Спасибо.
Спасибо большое. Действительно было очень интересно.
Thank you very much. It was an interesting presentation indeed. For nuclear units mean a very attractive project directed at economic growth. You have population growth, and a similar project, 4 units, VVR 1200, are also implemented with our Turkish colleagues, and now we have online. Hopefully everything is okay with communications. We have Mr. Avshin Burak Bostanji, Chief General Directorate for Nuclear Energy International Relations with the Ministry of Energy and Nuclear and Natural Resources of Turkish Republic. He was a member of Nuclear Regulation Committee of Turkey. Mr. Bostanji, you have the floor, please.
I would like to express my great pleasure for representing the Turkish Ministry of Energy and Natural Resources at the Belarusian Energy and Environmental Forum. I would also like to thank everyone who contributed to the organization of this forum, which aims to present the latest developments and achievements in energy, energy savings, electronics, environmental protection, and renewables. Dear participants, I believe that our unique experience and successful work in the nuclear energy program, which started with the construction of Akkuyu MPP, will provide an important exchange of knowledge and experience for the forum participants towards the establishment of further MPPs. When we look at 3 main metrics, supply reliability, low cost, and being carbon-free, we see that only long-term, large-scale nuclear energy can provide all 3. All other energy sources can manage 2 out of 3. Another concern is scalability, because no other generation type can provide such a large amount of electricity in such a small space. Today, approximately 10% of the electrical energy demand in the world is met by nuclear power plants. A total of 444 nuclear reactors are in operation in many countries, and 51 reactors are under construction And 162 new reactors in the next 10 years are expected to start construction. In energy markets, we always feel price cycles very heavily. And we believe that in this era of energy crunch, peaking gas prices, peaking oil prices, peaking coal prices, and of course, the pressures of decarbonization, we believe that a new nuclear renaissance is at hand. And a group of 10 European Union countries must be feeling similarly, as they have recently asked the European Commission to recognize nuclear power as a low-carbon energy source. And it is a low-carbon energy source, so I think they are right. In this context, nuclear power plants have an important place in our energy strategy. Akku is our first, but we plan to build 3 nuclear power plants for a total of 12 nuclear reactor units. In 2010, we signed an intergovernmental agreement with the Russian Federation for the establishment of our first nuclear power plant, an overseas operation, our first nuclear power plant. So it is hard, but I think it's progressing very nicely. We have a basis of build, own, operate approach for 4 third-class generation Weaver 1200 type reactors with a total installed power of 4,800 megawatts in Mersin province, that's to the south, near the Mediterranean. Currently, the construction of the first 3 units are underway, and a construction license application for the 4th unit has also been made, and it is under evaluation by our nuclear regulatory authority. We aim for the first unit to start generating electricity by 2023, which is the 100th anniversary of our republic. We expect all units to be commissioned by the end of 2026. We are planning to establish our second nuclear power plant in Sinop province. We are working towards minimizing the uncertainties in this project. Our siting is done, so we have a site. The environmental impact report is done, although it is for a generic design. And at the moment, studies for obtaining a site license are in progress. Site selection studies for our 3rd nuclear power plant have not been completed yet. We also follow new trends in the use of 4th generation reactors, especially small modular reactors, which have an important place in the world's agenda in recent years, and the use of nuclear energy in non-electrical applications, such as district heating, water desalination, and hydrogen production. Dear participants, the inclusion of nuclear energy in our electrical power generation portfolio reduce our dependence on imported energy sources, increase our energy resource diversity, and make a significant contribution to ensuring our energy supply security. In the last 2 years, a combination of hot summers, cold winters, and heavy drought put pressure in our generation capacity. And we saw that in the electricity price too, with the electricity market price surging from 3 cents to 8 cents highs as a result. I mean, it's peaking and it is still increasing right now. If the Akkuyu power plant had been in operation at full capacity today, it would have been able to meet about 10% of Turkey's electricity demand and 90% of Istanbul's electricity demand on its own, with an annual electricity production of 35 billion kilowatt hours. On the other hand, as you know, one of the most important problems threatening our world is climate change. Rate of increase in energy consumption, in parallel with the increasing population and the composition of energy sources, have made it necessary to coordinate the energy sector with the climate change policies. This has put the Earth on a new path to rid itself of hydrocarbon fuels as much as possible. Our country will also be involved in this important period of change in the energy sector with carbon-free nuclear energy. In our country, 86% of the total greenhouse gas emissions are caused by the use of hydrocarbon fuels. So it's the other way around with Hungary. We anticipate the prevention of 35 million tons of carbon dioxide emissions per year with Akkuyu nuclear power plants and 2.4 billion tons of carbon dioxide emissions during its 60-year operational life. Dear participants, today, the life cycle of a nuclear power plant can correspond to a period of 100 years. In this respect, it is of great importance to develop a sufficient number of local human resources with the necessary competence of a nuclear power plant. Currently, we have on site 14,000 people. and 85% of them are Turkish citizens, and they are working intensively. In the operation of the power plant, 4,000 personnel will work. In the first place, we plan that 30% of these personnel to be Turkish citizens. In the following years, our hope and our goal is to increase this percentage significantly. In order to create the HR capacities for our maturing nuclear sector, Akkuyu has sent, Akkuyu AŞ as the company, has sent more than 300 of Turkish citizens to Russia for career training in nuclear engineering. Additionally, we, the ministry, have sent 440 Turkish citizens abroad to receive postgraduate education in the first 500 universities in the world, with government scholarships for the development of technical HR in the nuclear field of our public institutions and organizations. Furthermore, with the support of Russian universities, we continue to work on establishing a joint diploma-based post-graduation education program in nuclear engineering and nuclear energy at Turkish universities. Dear participants, nuclear power plants offer employment opportunities to many sectors, both in construction, in electric electronics, and machinery industry. In this way, we think that new MPPs will bring dynamism to our local industry. In the Akkuyu MPP project, which is the largest investment in Turkey with a business volume of 20 billion American dollars, we established that at least 40% of the goods and services will be supplied from our local industry. We hope to increase this rate gradually with the further projects. In addition, we fully believe that our local industry, which has gained knowledge, experience, and capability with these projects, will also achieve significant success in nuclear projects in other countries by being included in international nuclear supply chains. In line with this purpose, we work intensively with our relevant public institutions and organizations and the private sector representatives. On the other hand, duties of different public bodies regarding the nuclear sector, which is research and development, the nuclear regulatory body, and the implementation organization, are now clearly defined in our country, and adequate financial and human resources have been allocated to them. In 2018, the Nuclear Regulatory Authority, an independent institution, was established to carry out inspection and regulation activities related to nuclear energy. Currently, secondary legislation update studies are about to be completed. In this context, nuclear safety lessons learned from the accidents around the world are taken into account both in construction and operation of the power plants. So our work continues without compromising national and international nuclear safety principles. Besides these, we have made great strides to establish the nuclear 3S, safety, security, and safeguard, in line with international cooperation, norms, and rules. I would like to emphasize that the Turkish Grand National Assembly adopted the 2004 additional protocol to Paris Convention on Third-Party Liability, a law approving the ratification along with the Joint Convention on Waste and Fuel Management just last week. Dear participants, as I end my words, I would like to underline that MPPs are not only electricity generation facilities, but an entire sector that can create positive externalities for a variety of technological and industrial fields. Nuclear is maybe the energy sector most dependent on international cooperation, goodwill, and mutual understanding. And our work in Akkuyu is progressing based on this mutual understanding. Finally, I wish that we will not live this difficult and extraordinary pandemic that we have experienced worldwide. And in the coming years, I hope to participate physically in this event, hopefully. I'd like to express my sincere thanks again to all the stakeholders who took part in the organization of this forum and hope that the event will be beneficial for all participants. Thank you. Спасибо большое.
Спасибо большое, господин Бастанжи. Конечно же, мы будем рады вас видеть.
Yes, of course, we will be happy to welcome you here in Belarus in the next years, and also I think the circumstances will facilitate that. So I mean, the COVID will end. Also, we have with Turkey an intergovernmental agreement signed in 2016 on cooperation in peaceful nuclear energy usage, and many delegations already came from Turkey to exchange experience, and we are always happy to welcome guests from Turkey in our round tables. Okay, so this is the end of our presentations. And we still have some time to discuss the topics that have been raised, I mean, environmental and economic aspects of nuclear energy.
Когда будете задавать вопросы,
Please introduce yourself if you want to ask a question, and then you also name the speaker you want to address, and please ask your questions. Let's start the discussion. Welcome. I'm representative of this, the institute named after Professor Sakharov. My name is Popov Boris. I represent the institute of named after Sakharov. I represent the R&D sector of this institute. My question is to Mr. Paramonov, Boris Paramonov. So, our NPP being constructed, it's very good, high quality, and the Academy of Science actually took great part into this project in construction as well. However, our task now is to make NPP useful. It shouldn't be a useless, super expensive toy. For that, we need to make it work with the design power factor. So the capacity of the NPP should be 360 megawatts, but the design power is 1,200 megawatts. So my question, whether we expect to reach 1,200 megawatts, the installed capacity, and if yes, then when can we expect that? Thank you for your question. Well, I think the capacity of 360 megawatts is kind of, well, if you know the phases of NPP commissioning, so from the date of energy generation commission and to the achieving the design capacity, so there is a so-called trial or test run period, after which there is 15 days test and then signing the acceptance certificate. So probably this 360 megawatts, it was just one date during dynamic tests. It was recently. No. Well, since the 4th of October, the NPP is operating, but coming to the nominal design capacity, we have to pass through several stages. And currently, the heat load of the NPP is 3,200 megawatts. And at the turbine today in the morning, when I was coming here, it was 1,170 megawatts. So practically, it's almost, yeah. So currently, we are working with the nominal design parameters. So today, the NPP is generating around 28 million kilowatt hours. Igorev Sergey, I'm entrepreneur, and I'm interested in the infrastructure. So the nuclear energy sector is for generation of electric energy. So if we consider economic and ecological aspects, then we can make so-called energy efficiency equation. I mean, so Nadezhda told us about the heroic path of people who since 2008 tried to bring our NPP to the right trajectory. And owing to the experts who are now present in the room, the NPP actually reached some certain level. We already heard something about high-speed highways, and also we know something about accumulators of electric energy, electric vehicles. We understand that LED are such a nice innovation, and it can provide the cities with light, and it can even help to develop this infrastructure. So everything that I list now, it's all the DC, but currently we have the AC. I understand that education and all the technical procedures and aspects that our NPP part, not only NPP, but the whole energy sector, it all was oriented at the AC. So, my question to the two speakers, who in our organizations is thinking about how within the reconstruction of smart cities, regional infrastructure, how can we make both AC and DC and use them both? If you are not ready to answer the question now, maybe you will be able to discuss that later. And then I have to address my guests who represent the countries who also develop the nuclear energy sector.
В мире подорожали металлы, подорожал цемент.
The world has commodity prices going up, construction materials, energy. Tell me, how does it translate in the plans we have underway to extend nuclear power plant construction? I mean also the next NPP we are supposed to build in the future. Thank you very much. I'll try to answer. I don't know if you'll be satisfied. Having within the country's energy system both direct and alternate current is quite expensive. Maybe I am not prepared to speak for the whole economy. For our country, this issue is not an immediate issue. Also, because if power, if hypothetically is switched off, if there is a failure, where from can we consume it? We can consume it from our nearest ally and at an affordable price, Russian Federation. We have a common grid. And speaking about Russia, they use alternate current. And developing the DC current sector is not very affordable and not cost effective. I would like to add, European publications for many years say that it is a momentous issue having both sources, DC and AC. Everything starts with a small step. Russia is a leader in the area of superconductors in the world, and global steps are made in the area of laying cables and producing infrastructure to ensure loss-free relay. We can start a very broad discussion right now. It is not our topic for today. I think that Belarus, in the development of new technologies, it will not lag behind, please believe me. We shall keep pace with the world progress, but so far, as of today, it is not an issue. It is not cost effective. Thank you. I insist that the topic should be included in the environmental and economic aspects of nuclear energy. And as soon as we start it without a political will, the faster it will be developed when the political will is there. Hopefully this discussion will be continued. And hopefully our guests will explain to us how our economy will be built following the existing price formation frameworks. Our guests, are you prepared to answer the question about the rising construction material prices and how the issue will be approached, addressed in your countries? If you have any ideas, please share them with us.
Yes, thank you. The question, but I don't have too much license for the answering, but it is not a sensitive topic. It is not my job. I'm sorry. That we are here that we want to build a nuclear station. If you want to give the question, I should find the other Expo. And that's my personal opinion. And I really don't understand the question because it's not enough to very high prices of energy to need to base load capacity. Who has a question that is don't need? I think because if you see the stock market, it's terrible consequences in Europe. And the question, who will supply the energy? UK? Which prices will be? Three times higher prices in Germany, for example. Who could supply these customers? And I think it's really clear answer. The baseload capacity, without the baseload capacity, impossible to supply the customers. And we could continue the NSOE because we are part of the NSOE and high voltage regulator system in Europe. And well, if I understood well, you put the question, the other kind of relation, but I think it's not my job talking about which kind of alternative we have. We have alternative, renewable sources. I want to show for you what is the consequences. The consequences is the renewable sources is deregulate those kind of generation as the nuclear with the load following, which price is 1/3 is lower. This is good for the consumer. This is my question. I don't think so. I'm sorry.
Спасибо большое. Хотите что-нибудь?
I just want to add a very small thing. As my colleague says, that it's not our scope today, and also we are not the one who is responsible for answer this question. But I think it's not a question that we answer in 2 or 3 minutes. There are many studies to calculate the benefit, especially for the prices and the consumption. Everything it's very has many parameter and dimension to calculate the price for the nuclear against renewable or coal or oil or everything. So if you need something like that, I can give you the address for our website, and I can send you a study for calculating the price and against another sort of resources. Thank you.
The fact that we have to build is beyond any doubt. I wanted to specify, to clarify, if the rising commodity prices do not disturb the current investment calculations. Today, that the energy prices are going still higher and higher, that makes the situation simple. Yes, we have to build, but I wanted to ask you if there are plans under way to accommodate the current situation, but I understand this is not your competence. Very useful exchange of opinions. Belatam Semashko, answer to Boris Paramonov. On the 18th of August, we heard that one of the elements was broken, and could you please explain what happened at the NPP, why diagnostics took such a long time, and what is the status today? Question number 2. The site, the utilization site construction, have you selected the spot? If not, when it is going to be selected? Colleagues, please stick to the agenda. Yes, our regulator, Gosatomnadzor, had its press conference. They clearly answered the questions. The answer is available. Please come back to our topic. because the way I see it, we can speak about it long and very interestingly. I mean, economic, environmental aspects of our project, our friends' projects in Hungary, Egypt, elsewhere. And as far as the fuel is concerned, we speak a lot about it. We have special events designated for that. Would you like to add something? In general, not. I wouldn't like to add anything. The only thing I would like to say that when assessing all the outages together with Gosatomnadzor at Belarusian NPP applies a conservative approach. The conservative approach is that before a core reason is found, before all the necessary operations and tests are conducted, commissioning the unit to the grid is impossible. As soon as we realize that we are safe, reliable, we did the connection, and now it is about the storage spot. What's the current status? The announcement is that the exhibition will close its operation at 6 p.m. Nadezhda Evgenievna, please answer the question very briefly. As you know, the main issues concerning handling depleted fuel are reflected in the national strategy. And according to the strategy, certain phases are provided for, which envisage site selection, pre-design documentation development, spot preparation and construction, storage, building in several completion phases. Since the time frames have been shifted in comparison with the initial concept last year, this strategy was also amended in line with the NPP construction time frame. I mean the radioactive waste storage. The Belarusian NPP construction and the Research Institute and the Academy of Sciences chose a conceptual project of nuclear waste storage. Now the Minister of Energy, Academy of Sciences have certain groundwork done to be used directly when implementing the project and when making a decision on a specific site selection. Colleagues, one more question and our time will be over. Can you hear me? Mikhail Ponikov, Parliamentary Committee, Union Diet. I have an emotional question. This forum is going against the background of unprecedented energy price spiking world over. We quote Vladimir Putin, who back in 2010 used to say that ask European colleagues, what are you going to use as fuel if you don't want nuclear energy? I have a question to the Belarusian speakers. What do you feel now, not just so much emotionally, but do you have ideas you would like to share with us, perhaps, in this respect? Please allow me to express my personal attitude. to the situation. Of course, we made a decision to build NPP in 2007. It was a well-balanced decision to abandon dependence on natural gas. You know that our energy mix used to make 95%, and with two units being operational, we shall abandon 40% of natural gas consumption in favor of clean energy source. So it's a self-evident fact. Today, we abandon development on gas, as was said by a representative of the Belarusian NPP. 3.9 billion kilowatt per hour we have generated. We have saved more than 1 billion cubic meters of natural gas. Multiplied by the prevailing prices, and you'll understand that it is an economically viable project. Would you like to add something? Maybe our foreign colleagues would like to add something. I think we have done our best to answer all your questions. Maybe one very last question. Small, minor question. We have an environmental forum. This plant, not only this one, but any other, emanate heat, and only 40% of this heat is efficient. 60% is lost in the atmosphere. The way I believe it, there is an opportunity to increase performance by thermal elements, special thermal elements, which could bring efficiency up to 90% of heat to electric power transformation. Experiments must be conducted. It needs money. The question is where to take this money to fuel the research. Sergei Utechin, Academy of Sciences, Joint Informatics Research Institute. Of course, I think that our country pays a lot of attention to research development. We mentioned our Sosny Research Institute, which is active in nuclear energy. We have a research support program. The government allocates a lot of money to support research, science. These are well-known programs. You should apply for this kind of funding. And I think that it is reasonable to review your idea at a serious level. We understand that there are such losses, but nonetheless, today many countries think very hard. Maybe some countries have done some field work in this area. Anyways, our country pays a lot of attention to research and development support. We are considering building a new research reactor. We, as power sector people, always resort to science and its best achievements. In continuation, Boris Petrovich, you had a wonderful presentation showing how environmentally clean the NPP is. Everything is fine, everything is perfect. I understand that the Ostrovets district is very environmentally clean. It's a recreation area. We would like to think how we can ensure recreation areas for those who used to go there for their holidays. I think many people who are building their nuclear power plants in their respective countries are facing the same objectives. We think that the heat energy emitted will help us to spend our holidays, especially during the cold period. Do we have such hope? that we could step by step at our university try to address such solutions. There is always a hope, let's say. Any decisions, any solutions deserve consideration, and they will be, but without your participation it is impossible, because you understand many ideas which are not understood by us, and you have connections with the IAEA. This way we could start approaching options and versions. We do hope that the initiative will not be left unheeded by you. Sergei is a frequent guest at our different energy and environment related events. He generates lots of ideas, multifaceted ideas. I was preparing myself today for his visit, and today I would like to present a small gift to Sergei to make him understand that he is always welcome at our events, especially his attractive questions. Thank you very much to all for your valued participation. Thanks for technical support, provisions. Things ran impeccably. Thanks for our respected speakers, and you're welcome next year.